All right, so let's talk briefly about why so many doctors were quick to come on social media, quick to go on TV, denouncing the link between Tylenol and autism without even reading any of the research that was presented by RFK. Now, I want you guys at first just to take a step back and think about this, and this will help give you some more clarity. When doctors go to medical school, those medical schools are funded by someone, and that funding comes from the pharmaceutical companies. What does that mean? That means that everything that those doctors are being taught in school has been read over, reviewed, given the thumbs up, the thumbs down by the funding companies, by the pharmaceutical companies. And this just didn't start right now. This started way back in the Rockefeller days when he came out and introduced oil-based medications and pills and all of that stuff. Matter of fact, you can go in some of my past posts, you can see a video that was created about that. So just think about this for a second. You're a doctor right now. Let's call yourself a pediatrician, right? You've been told in school, listen up, the research does not lie. The science has been settled. Here are the studies that have been given to you to read, all of them funded by pharma, all of them, sliced and diced by big pharma, all of the ways that they have paid off the researchers to make the data work for them. So what do you think these pediatricians are going to think and they're going to do? Pediatricians want to help people. Doctors want to. That's why we went into the field that we are. And my beef is not with doctors. And because I really believe that like 95% of doctors do want to do the right thing. We do want to help our patients. Unfortunately, the doctors are nothing more than just puppets by the people that are holding the strings, and those are the pharmaceutical companies. Those are the ones that are making the money. If you didn't know this, pediatricians, if you look at a pediatrician practice, about 50% of their income comes from well checks, which are basically vaccination checks where kids go in there and get pumped full of more shots and vaccinations. And if you think for a second that a pharmaceutical company is going to say, you know what, let's stop making $100 million plus a year from vaccines so we can research them more to see if they truly are safe and effective, guess what? I have some oceanfront property in Arizona to sell you. You guys, think about this for a second. Pediatricians are trained in the medical model by the pharmaceutical companies and literally are passing down and forcing the information down into their brains and saying, this is the standard. Don't ever question the science. Don't ever question the research that's been given to you. We're going to provide you with the research. We're going to tell you what is good and what is not. I mean, let's be honest. Before Trump even got up there and talked about Tylenol, it was already all over the news. Acetaminophen doesn't cause anything. This, that. Wait. What if he would have came out with a groundbreaking study and said, this has never, ever been studied before. Here's what it is right now. What would have that happened? But guess what? The pharmaceutical companies, the media-controlled companies are so quick to judge that they want to push down any thought that you actually have a brain and can think for yourself and say, you know what? 1 in 10,000 autism, now it's 1 in 36. There's a problem, people. If you haven't figured that out, and no, it's not just better diagnosis. I'm sorry. No one buys that BS. 1 in 10,000 to now 1 in 36? I'm sorry. And I've seen it in my practice. I know you've seen it in your communities. We see it in our schools every single day. Ladies and gentlemen, autism is a real thing. Next, did you know that there is not one single double-blind study concerning autism and neurological effects? There is not one study that looks at the long-term neurological effects, even though autism is rising at astronomical rates. Not one pharmaceutical company, not one drug company, not one of these vaccines makers has said stop And let's actually look at what's going on inside these vaccines, and they could potentially be harming the kid. You think that they really care about your health? They don't. They care about their profits. They care about their shareholders and making sure they make more money and more money and more money. You know, I'm 43 years old. If I was fully vaccinated as a child, I would have received, I think, 8 vaccines. And that was when we had, what, 1 in 10,000 autism? Now, if your baby is born today and you give them all of the shots, including all the COVID boosters, you're looking at over 90 doses. 90 doses of vaccines for our poor kids. So what does this all mean? It means this, that we need to take a giant step back and say, let's stop and actually do the appropriate research. And that's, ladies and gentlemen, what RFK is asking. You know what? He's not a doctor. He doesn't need to be a doctor. Why? He's a politician, and he can even say, look, there is a problem going on here. We need to have this research done by an independent group, not by the CDC, who owns, if you didn't know, about 50% of the patents on all of the vaccines that are out there. We need to create an independent group that can look at the data objectively. Not researchers who are funded by the big pharmaceutical companies. And yes, if you read the safe and effective research and you actually start reading about, well, who was the one that created that study? Oh, wait. So you're telling me that the rotavirus was created by a guy who worked inside the CDC, but that vaccine was bought for $100 million and he was the one that said it was safe and effective? Do we not see a major conflict of interest here, people? The American people are not stupid. And parents, especially moms are not stupid. They are extremely smart. When I have a mom come into my practice and say, look, my baby was 100% fine, and they went and got shots 3 days ago, and now they have a major fever, now they're nonverbal, now they're banging their head against the wall, now they're screaming all night like they're in the worst pain of their life, you're gonna tell me that that mom is wrong? That those shots didn't cause that? Oh, and by the way, their pediatrician told them that they're gonna have a little bit of pain before the vaccines, so load them up on Tylenol. Ladies and gentlemen, Tylenol reduces the glutathione in the brain, and that is the only defense that our blood-brain barrier has as an antioxidant. So what are we doing? And this is what it's all about when it comes to Tylenol and why there's such a hoopla about it. We're giving kids Tylenol. It's lowering glutathione, which is our defense. Then we're overloading them with all of these different chemicals. And I'm not saying it's just from vaccines. It can come from pesticides, EMFs, a whole bunch of different toxic places. But our little brains, these little kids' brains, don't have enough defenses, and those things implant in the brain, and boom, overnight, neurological disorders happen. So when it comes to the education model, I don't hate my medical friends. I just think that they're vastly misinformed, and I honestly think that their entire education, from when they started medical school all the way to current, has been controlled. And they're literally, their eyes have been kept between here and here. And if there's any outside science that the pharmaceutical companies, the medical companies, the medical colleges don't agree with, they automatically smack it down and they discredit it. They say, hey, look, we don't acknowledge that research over there. Oh, that doctor did that? Oh, we don't acknowledge that. Oh, we don't acknowledge that ivermectin can actually help with COVID. Oh, we don't acknowledge that fenbenzole can actually help cure cancer. Why? Because that's what we're told. No. What you're being told is because what you're being sold. And what you're being sold on is the medical model. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want your kids to be healthier, start thinking outside the box. Start questioning your doctors. And start researching for yourself. Last thing I'll say about this, I know it's a long video. I urge all of us to ask for more accountability. Get rid of the Indemnification Act, which means that, they can pump your kid full of vaccines and there's nothing that you can do. You can't sue those companies. That needs to be gone immediately. And number 2, we need double-blind studies looking at short-term, long-term effects of these vaccines, as well as a combination of all of the different vaccines, of the 90 different doses that we're pumping into our kids. I'm passionate about this because I'm sick and tired of seeing the next generation